the exact workshop was a very surprising experience for me. I need to write a lot in my job for grant applications, for papers to disseminate our work. And sometimes it's difficult to organize all this information. And as a non-native English speaker, it's even more difficult to know if you are doing the correct thing or maybe it is wrong. What are the rules? So this workshop clarified the rules and expanded and gave more flexibility to the English language. So it gave me more possibilities to choose how to build my sentences and how to work out all the content of what I was going to say and how to organize it. The workshop, by giving information and clarifying the different patterns, made it easy for me to recognize them and then use them. So there was not only the patterns, but like other concepts, like I remember some flipping them, nesting, all these things added like a lot of combinatorial possibilities of what could be done with the language. And in the course, by being able to turn the same sentence around in different ways, these exercises were very useful, and it's something that was difficult at the time, but because you are kind of breaking the patterns of writing, but this knowledge remained after the course. In my university, in Barcelona, when you do the science branch, it's not included, but on your site you take English lessons, because a lot of the material, a lot of the scientific material was already given in English. When I learned English, I was 18-year-old, and I went to the North American Institute in Barcelona. It was an excellent institute because in the North American Institute, on the start, I never had any exposure to English before, and there was not a single word in Spanish or in Catalan, which is our mother tongue. So because the teachers were native Americans and they had come and they had no knowledge of Spanish themselves. So they started the first lecture just by talking in English. And it was like that all along. So I thought it was tough at the beginning. The first 2 hours were tough, but then we got very quickly somehow we understood and we got up. When I first learned English, I think it would have been useful to learn the patterns of how the sentences are constructed using the exact word patterns. This kind of teaching was done for me in my native tongue, and that was like 1 year in our elementary school, I guess, or middle school, and that was very helpful. So I think that is kind of the equivalent, but I would say more modern and more flexible, maybe related, because I believe that the English language is also a little bit more flexible. You can transform nouns into verbs and everything. So I think it would be very, very useful. Yeah. The workshop helped in recovering some ideas that might otherwise be lost, and I will elaborate on that. Let's say that there is, so in research you have the main design of the experiments and possibilities that could happen and how these relate to other existing research, right? So by taking the workshop, like before I took the workshop, some ideas it was too complicated to bring them in because they were more remotely connected. Let's say my research is connected to another research, but it is more abstract, more difficult to connect them. And I know that they are connected, but it would be too difficult to explain it. So I wouldn't bother before. And like we will ignore that side. But now with the workshop, it is possible to incorporate this information, let's say in the background, information on the relationship of my research. Also, like when you have to come and examine different possibilities that could happen. Let's say you are writing a grant and proposing some experiments that you have not done, and you have to contemplate things that could happen. Some of them I could think about, but it would be too difficult to explain those. And now I have more tools to articulate those and to bring them in, and to bring them in the line of the story. Yeah, it is wider portrait. And before it was more linear, and now it can bring things from other fields. So it's like connecting, more connections, and the ability to explain those connections. So the exact workshop was very intense, 40 hours. It was like a lot of time, but it was one of the best investments in my career. The first day was a bit surprising and shocking, but it was a joint effort with the instructor that she kept the focus and directed very well, so that by the second day we could grasp what was going on, what were the different patterns, and how it was possible to control them. And the book helped a lot, the exercises help a lot. And by the second part, the perspective on the English language and thinking process was different than the beginning of the week, I would say. English language is very flexible, and one, as a non-native speaker, one is always a bit lost. So this workshop was very useful in foreclosing some of the loops and solving many of the questions that I had, and everything became much more transparent and easy to construct, not only sentences but paragraphs and the whole idea of a document. So that workshop was really, really helpful, probably for native speakers. I don't have doubt that I know that they are a bit lost sometimes themselves in this language. So I think it's useful for both kind of learners.